And here we go, we are ready to move into the final game here of today. Final game of this set, 1-1, another very close set between another close set between two of our players here. Oz once again showing they're not going to go out without a fight. One player does move forward, one goes out, 2-1 to go rush of course. And the final Oz player here waiting to face or to fight his way through to the round of 4 is of course Anytime moving out of the last game with a very nice victory against Naura. Will most likely try and blindside Naura again, but I'm not sure lightning will strike twice. I've used that analogy before as well, but I don't really mind. But let's move on to this next game. Okay, and in the top left up here, this is Gladiator once again. The third time I believe we see Gladiator today, if we're not counting the extra time I rehosted the first game versus Go Rush. We will actually see Anytime up here in the top left position, 10 o'clock, on your clock face in the minimap. And coming off of the last game with a nice victory, we'll have somewhat of a boost in confidence against Naura, who is of course the other Protoss here up in the top right. 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock position here on the clock. We'll be more than likely being a little bit more careful with what's going on here, because purely based on what just happened, he thought he had a huge advantage, but due to a lack of scouting, he was caught completely off guard by BTs, and he did actually lose the set, and did allow Anytime of course back into the set here. And the final round of 4 position, the person who will go up to meet against Go Rush, is highly contested here, and of course both players will want this. And the water I decided to drink is refreshing, but there's a weird smell to it, so hopefully I will not get ill, but that's fine. Well, we're good. It looks like Naura once again going with his 2 gateways, gonna be scouted straight away here by Anytime, who himself is also going 2 gateways, so we will have 2 gateway versus 2 gateway here. Anytime Naura is gonna, it actually looks like, oh sorry, I clicked the gateway again and thought that Anytime was going 3 gate, but no, it is 2 gate versus 2 gate. And of course, with the ramps that go down into the main, this could be very, very good for Naura here, unless Anytime can hold the top of his ramp. Both Zealots are actually gonna go to leave their base at the same time, but it looks like Anytime is gonna try and defend the top of his ramp, and this could be very, very beneficial for Naura here, because Naura is gonna find it a lot easier to push down this ramp. I don't even think that Zealot counts as being on the high ground, so he's actually gonna have a hard time dealing with the Zealots that are going to be moving across the map. Of course they will both be, with decent macro, exactly equal on Zealots here, but Naura will have the strategic advantage position wise if he chooses to engage, which it looks like he's preparing to. The probe of Anytime is dead from inside the base, and it looks like Anytime has actually snuck another probe out, and it looks like he's going to try the same tactic again, or could even try Proxy Reaver, but I'm unsure that it may work as well as last time, because he's going to have a hard time just holding his ramp soon. It looks like in exactly the same fashion, Naura has gone up to 5 Zealots and he will expand, so Naura is actually going to be in a very, very dominating position here to start the game off, and if he can actually move down and scout this, he's going to have... oh, there's actually another 2 gateways being added. This is very, very interesting. It's not something you see very often, but it looks like with a 4 gateway build, Anytime is actually going to try and barrel his way through Naura's lack of units due to the fact he's expanded and is only on 2 gateways. He's adding on his forge, and if he can get some cannons out, that will help against this. But it looks like he's going to start adding on more and more zealots till he just overwhelms the forces of Naura, who has pulled probes up here to defend. Naura knows there's something coming, he's not entirely sure what, he's just going to try and defend with micro against the 5 zealots. It is 5 zealots, which are going to be on even footing, but with the probes in here helping with the damage and causing a little bit of a wall. It looks like neither player has actually lost a zealot yet, but any times are on much lower health. 2 of them do go down. 2 more zealots are moving in to reinforce. 3 more actually. There are zealots coming out of these gateways now, and it looks like Naura is continuing to build gateways as well. A cannon is trying to be surrounded by Naura's zealots to try and keep it up. And it looks like Anytime has lost the pushing power behind his force. He does have zealots coming from 2 directions, but Naura with incredibly good micro has actually saved all the zealots so far. After killing about 4 or 5 from Anytime, and with this cannon, it's going to make it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to actually move forward for Anytime and take out this base. So Anytime is going to keep trying to add on zealots, keep up the pressure, and he should, if possible, try and expand behind this. But he's going to have a very big problem. He's getting slowly further and further behind. He of course does have more units. The probe does try and get out, but the zealots actually block it really nicely, so Naura doesn't actually know there's 4 gateways, but he can most likely assume due to the fact due to the fact Anytime zealot count has refreshed itself so quickly, he's actually going to use this chance to build an extra cannon, and this is going to cement his defense, because cannon... Oh, Naura's actually going to move across the map. He's going to surround the 3 zealots. 1 zealot goes down, 2 zealots are going to go down. Anytime's pushing power is slowly diminishing, and with these cannons, once again, it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to actually push in. He does have Cybernetic Score coming with range, even adding on a cannon in his main to defend against DTs, not making the same mistake he did last game. He's not being oh, they did have a little bit of a lag there. Hopefully it fixed itself. It looks like maybe it was just Naura, but it's fine. Naura does have his dragoons going, and Anytime is finding himself with just zealots off of 4 gateways. He's not even adding on his Cybernetic Score. Will just try and build up a big enough zealot count and try and force his way through here, but I'm not entirely sure it will work. He is going to go all in with this. He's not opting to add on a Nexus anywhere, and he's not even adding on a Cybernetic Score, so he's opted to try and break this. He's going to move in now. There is of course enough units to defend against this. With the dragoons and cannons, it's going to be very difficult to break, but if he can get enough zealots, he probably can, with decent enough micro, try and overcome this. But adding on his robotics facility is Naura, and it's going to make it increasingly difficult to actually move in here for Anytime. He's stalling a little bit too long. He's actually now going to try and save up for a Nexus, incredibly late expand. But all he can really do, he cannot push in, he has to expand, and he has to try and tech up, and he's now adding on his gas, so that is of course why he didn't have his Cybernetic Score before. He had no use for it. And Naura is just finding himself quite far ahead. Of course, in terms of units, Anytime is actually ahead, but with the dragoons and cannons, the zealot count is not going to be able to break, and it looks like he's opting to take his expansion after Cybernetic Core. The zealots are going to move in. Naura is not positioned very well. His zealots will actually get surrounded, so this is a very good move by Anytime. Anytime's actually moving up against the dragoons, but these cannons proving their weight in gold. Anytime looks like he's actually pushing his way through this, but with good dragoon micro, he's actually using probes to block the cannons, so that is incredibly nice play. And there's just zealots against dragoons and probes, so Anytime has done a lot of damage here, but the final remaining zealots haven't done enough damage against the dragoons. Only 2 dragoons have gone down, saving the last one with a probe. And he's actually going to now push forward with his dragoons against purely zealots. Another dragoon goes down, and a lot of probes have gone down, actually putting them back even on supply again. But a dragoon blocking the ramp is going to save the rest of his Dragoons from the very low Zealot count that is left. More Zealots are going to try and filter in to try and do some extra damage. But with this Reaver coming out, and anytime only having Dragoon, or anytime only having Zealots, now adding on Dragoon himself, he is quite possibly going to die from a counterattack by these Reavers. He does have a shot already. Of course the shot has been scouted, and it looks like Anytime had a technical issue there, which has been fixed, which is good. But Anytime, of course, trading somewhat evenly army-wise, taking out a lot of probes, but without this expansion he's just going to continue getting behind. And with this Reaver could be the nail in the coffin for Anytime in not only this series but also the BOSL, Bacchus Offgamenet Starleague. He does have Dragoons out now. He's going to try, it looks like he's trying to attack again, realizing that he did actually manage, oh, the Reaver gets dropped. The Reaver's getting low on health, he needs to pick it up, he does pick it up just in time. And the Reaver goes down before he can do too much damage. And Anytime is actually finding himself in a better position than he probably deserves to be due to that Reaver snipe. He's going to fall back with his 3 Dragoons against the 6 from Naura, so it's 5v6 again. And he's now going to add on his expansion. It is very, very late. The probe count of Naura has recovered, and he's adding on an extra Reaver, which is going to help him here. And if he can drop the Reaver in the base, there is no defense, but of course he himself needs to defend. He does now have 4 gateways himself, so his unit count is going to match, if not exceed. Yeah, he is now ahead in supply by 20, so Naura slowly breaking away from Anytime. Anytime has to get some damage done. He's almost missed his opportunity, so he needs to move in. He did a decent job doing damage earlier, but his Dragoons are already low on health. A very nice line set up by Naura is actually going to make this even harder. Most of the Dragoons go down from Anytime, and this Reaver, worth its weight in gold, finishes off the lower health Dragoons. And it looks like he's going to use the Reaver for defense still before actually opting to go and attack. So Naura still not willing to take any chances, hasn't actually scouted Anytime, doesn't know if he's expanded yet. Unless of course there is an observer here, which it doesn't look like. So Naura just consolidating his current victories until now is just going to continue to macro up, build more and more gateways, add more and more Dragoons, and then eventually go on the offensive himself and try and break this expansion. Anytime's actually going to send a probe out south, so he could even try and hide a base down there, but I'm not entirely sure that would be very wise. He's actually opting to scout the top of the ramp. He's going to move up now with his 6, and was 8 Dragoons now. But 8 Dragoons is not enough to deal with this amount of Dragoons. He has 2 Reavers and shuttles now, and now is his time to move across the map. He's even bringing an observer with him. He has about 13 Dragoons apparently, according to my backseat commentator stood behind me watching the game. But Anytime, once again, on 4 gateways. His gateways are not in his main, or at least not all of them. There's going to be an engagement here. Naura actually takes the high ground, and with these 2 Reavers, it's going to be impossible for Anytime to actually move back to try and defend his own base. And Naura has taken a commanding lead in this game, showing why he's strong against Protoss, not failing or not dying to any form of early aggression again, not making the same mistake he did in the second game of this set. Looks like he will take out this Nexus and Anytime in this series. Dragoons are going down, blue goo everywhere. Anytime just simply does not have enough to deal with this army, and it's only a matter of time before Anytime needs to move back into his base once again. He does have his 3rd gateway here, but there's just so many units, there's not enough, and I'm not entirely sure he can really come back in this game now. The Reavers alone can actually just kill what he has, and there's nothing to defend his probes. He's holding in, trying to save enough forces to try and win. He's going to pull his probes. He doesn't want to leave, and GG is called. Naura does move on to the round of 4 and will face Go Rush. Of course, Go Rush, just coming off of a PVZ and winning a PVZ as well in Pro League, will have a very nice nice position to move from. But that is the end of the cast for today. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. The VODs will go off on YouTube later this evening. I'll cut them out with Lightworks again, and I'll see you guys next time.